Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good morning everyone. My name is Fazal Hassan bin Zulkifli. Today I will presenting a study titled The Impact of Channel Preference on User Intention, Evident from the Middle Managers in the Malaysia Public Sector. This, this research examines a very specific but important question. When a public servant witness wrongdoing, does the reporting channel they prefer actually affect whether they choose to come forward or stay silent? To guide our discussion today, we will follow this outline. We'll start with the introduction and the why behind the study. Then we will move through our literature review, problem statement, and methodology. Finally, we will dive into the main empirical findings and evidence-based policy recommendation. Let's begin by explaining why insomnia matters and why it's currently not working well in Malaysia. According to Association of Certified Fraud Examiner (SCFA), they found that nearly 50% of the fraud cases were discovered through tips from people who actually witnessed wrongdoing inside their own organization. This tells us one clear thing: people are the most powerful tool we have against fraud and corruption, not audit, not regulation alone. Malaysia recognized this. Whistleblower Protection Act was introduced. Its purpose was straightforward: to encourage individuals to come forward and report corruption in both the public and private sector. On paper, it sounds like a strong framework, but here is the problem. Research by Lazim and Nur Bariza tells a different story on the ground. Malaysia civil servants frequently choose silence over speaking up. Why? Because they fear retaliation, being demoted, isolated, or punished, and they fear for their workplace safety, their career, their reputation, and their livelihood. So we have a situation where the law exists, but people are still not reporting. This is the gap the study seeks to address, and this is exactly what we will explore in the section that follow. This slide captures the core problem of this study. Between 2011 and 2023, there is a full 12 years. National Enforcement Agency received 74,614 complaints under the WPA 2010. Out of those complaints, how many individuals were formally recognized and protected as whistleblowers? Just 1,139 people. There is an official protection rate of only 1.53%. Think about what that means. For every 100 people who come forward to report wrongdoing, fewer than two receive the legal protection the Act promised them. The remaining were left exposed without confidentiality protection, without immunity, and without legal safeguard against regulation. That is what we call the core products of the WPA 2010, a law that was designed to encourage people is, in practice, produce silence. The central question this study asks is why. The answer, as this research will show, lies in how the law treats reporting channels, specifically which channel it protects and which one it leaves completely unprotected. How this study was conducted. This research used quantitative approach. The survey instrument used a five-point Likert scale ranging from the strongly disagree to strongly agree to measure gender preference and intention. In terms of location, the study was conducted within federal government in Putrajaya. The target population were middle managers, specifically those holding positions from grade 9 to grade 14, which in the Malaysian Public Service correspond to the management and professional group, covering roles such as assistant director, principal, principal assistant secretary, and head of department. For sampling and data collection, we gather response from 304 middle managers. The sampling technique used was stratified sampling, which ensured that the sample professionally represent the different subgroups within the population, making our finding more reliable and generalizable. Finally, the data cleaning and analysis, we use SPSS version 27 for preliminary data process and then apply SmartLS version 4 for the main analysis. This is perhaps the most important slide in the presentation because this is where the data speak up directly to the problem we identified earlier. Let us start with the channel preference finding on the left. When we ask media manager which channel they would prefer to use, the result were very clear. For internet channel, the integrity unit lead at 79%, followed by supervisor 75%, internal audit at 69%, and management at 69%. Clearly, employees tend to prefer internal whistleblowing of reporting corruption because it poses favor risk to both themselves and organization compared to external reporting. For external channel, MACC come in at 72%, professional organization at 33%, NGO at 90%, and at the bottom, traditional media at 30%, and social media at just 11%. This better indicate that MACC is not universal, trusted, or preferred as an important destination, despite being the only external channel with legal protection under WPA 2010. The low confidence in MACC compared to internet channel may reflect concern documented in the literature about MACC effectiveness, perception of political influence, skepticism about whether MACC focus adequately on serious corruption cases, or doubt about confidentiality and protection when reporting to enforcement agency. Now, here is something that most people do not realize about the integrity unit. In the Malaysia public sector, internal whistleblower operates through centralized reporting system. Misconduct report must be submitted to integrity unit within government entity, with investigations conducted by officer from the MACC assigned as a cadre to this unit. So in reality, MACC is already present inside very inside every ministry. Despite concern about trust and confidence, particularly when enforcement agency may be implicit in the misconduct. Previous researchers argue that employees may hesitate to report improper conduct to enforcement agency due to the widespread perception of corruption within this institution. Here is the critical legal point. Section C of WPA 2010 restrict legal protection to only those who report to designated unit, excluding supervisor, internal audit, and management. Similarly, reveal corruption to professional organization, regulatory bodies, media, and journalists will be unprotected. As a result, whistleblowers who report misconduct to unauthorized channel will risk losing protection under Section 8, Section 9, and Section 10 of the Act. This restriction reduces reporting options, raising concern about the system's ability to address misconduct effectively. For example, a recent 2024 case involving the Chief Commissioner of MACC, Azamaki, who initiated sue independent journalist Lalita Gunaranam, claiming defamation and seeking 10 million in damage. Because the WPA 2010 does not protect media disclosure, the whistleblower lost legal protection upon publication, leaving them vulnerable to defamation suit. There is a serious mismatch between what the law protects and what people actually prefer to use. This led directly to trust discrepancy. Middle management trust internal mechanism, but the law only clearly protect enforcement agency. To make things even more complicated, the WPA 2010 does not override OSA Official Secret Act 1972 or Section 203A of Penal Code. The, the OSA stated that government documents, data, and other information are generally classified as a official secret, which can only communicate with authorization. If public servant disclose such information without authorization, even if it's involved improper conduct, they have committed an offence under OSA. This automatically disqualifies the whistleblower from protection as per Section 6 of the WPA 2010. Upon conviction, a public servant face fine of up to 1 million and imprisoned for a term not exceeding 1 year or above. This this legislative conflict serves as a powerful deterrent for public servants. In summary, the law is not just falling to protect whistleblowers. In many cases, it is actively working against them. Now, let us discuss what does finding actually mean. I want to take you through four key points. First, the moral conviction is already there. Ethical awareness among middle managers is remarkable high. In our survey, 95% expressed support for reporting corruption. Nearly all 98% argue that public servants should be encouraged to report, and 89% feel personally obligated to report misconduct and recognize whistleblowing as a beneficial to their organization. So the intention is not the problem. They are ethically aware individual who know what they should do. Second point, confidence in protection is dangerous low. Despite the strong moral conviction, this finding reveals a critical gap when read together. While 71% agree management support whistleblowing, this confidence dropped regarding actual outcomes. Only 56% believe whistleblower will be protected from formal punishment, and only 50% believe they would avoid social isolation. That means roughly half of middle major do not believe they can report safely. Half. Third point, the gap between conviction and confidence is a structural problem. The protection confidence data identify that exact mechanism convert moral awareness into institutional silence. It's not that people do not care, it is the legislative framework leave the most trusted reporting channel, internal one, without any stationary protection. The core problem is not root in attitude toward the behavior, it is legislative. And the last point, this cannot be fixed through awareness campaign alone. This is critical point. In 2024 alone, the MSCC conducted 549 programs, 1,682 lectures, and over 224 corruption-free pledge events. Yet, the formal whistleblower identification rate has remained stuck at 1.53% for over a decade. Why? Because you cannot train people out of such a problem. When half your population does not believe they are protected, no amount of awareness program will change their behavior. What is what is needed is legislative correction, not moral lecture. Based on the empirical evidence, the study put forward four target policy recommendations. First, there is the most urgent legislative priority. Parliament must amend WPA 2010 to implicitly protect disclosure made through the internet channel that employee trust most. That means extending statutory protection to internal reporting such as supervisor, management, and internal audit. Right now, employee who report through any of this channel receive zero protection under the law. That must change. Second, resolve legislative conflict. Expanding protection channel alone is not enough. Parliament must also enact prevailing clause, propose a new section to ensure that WPA 2010 protect override the OSA 1972 or Section 203A of the Penal Code. Without this clause, whistleblower could comply fully the WPA 2010 but still face criminal prosecution under this parallel law. This legal threat must be removed entirely. Third, the study also recommends introducing a conditional public interest for media disclosure, modeling on the United Kingdom Public Interest Disclosure Act 1998. This protection would apply when formal channel have been exhausted without resolution, when reporting to designated agency create a conflict of interest, or when there is an imminent risk of evident destruction or public harm. Disclose the gap that currently leave media channel reporting completely exposed, as demonstrated in the 2024 MACC defamation case between Azam Baki and Lalita. The final recommendation, Malaysia must shift its anti-corruption investment away from awareness campaign, which the data should show have reached negligible marginal return, and redirect those resources toward building real institutional capability, such as navigating the report process and procedural clarity, multiple reporting channel, protection mechanism, and absence of retaliations. The evidence is clear. Awareness is not the deficit. Protection infra is, and they require legislative action, no more lecture. Thank you.